welcome to the channel, and welcome to whatever this is. Actually, I did have a cool idea for this video. I plan to show off a couple of small modifications I've made on builds that I've done in the past, sort of just to clarify some small details and cleanups that I did that overall improved the builds. And I just want to take a minute, sort of in the lull of making new projects, because I am working on new projects, to kind of explain them and try to just shed some light on what the modifications I made. So, primarily it was this. So this is my Sherman, French Sherman landship. As many of you already know, it's already been featured on my channel. Everyone knows it as far as the things that I build. But I made some changes to it that I think are fairly important as far as like maybe people who wanted to watch my videos and actually build this thing that I felt like were really important. And even if that's not the case, it's important for me to get those details down, because when I come back and build this or use the video, I would like to be able to identify what those details are so that I can get everything correct the second time around, which I've actually already done. So this is the second build. This is not the same Sentra that I featured before. This is a complete ground rebuild of the original one that I've made, which was pretty cool, which meant the videos worked and that the method for teaching the tutorials, at least to myself, was successful. So some people might be looking at this and being like, oh, well, what did you change? It looks exactly the same. And yes, I will point out that the details that I changed are small, but they are important. So I'll start with the roof right here. My roof is openable, which I tried really hard to do, but I'm really proud of. But there's this strut right here, which this is the main strut that supports like keeping the roof from caving in on itself. And it used to be one of these higher. So it used to look like this. It was almost like a full block height. And I changed that. So the roof was pinned up a little bit too high, and I lowered this bar down by just another level, so the roof could sit lower ultimately. And then, so for the same effect, so that it would sit level, I actually changed something right here. So underneath this disc here is a square. It's a square piece. It's a 2x2. It used to be one of these that was just underneath this thing. Now, those were the only actual modifications that I made to the roof, but it had kind of a nice overall effect as it came together, because when this was lower and this was even out to rest on these pipes, it actually closed a lot nicer. So now it closes more snugly, and this kind of gets in the way, but it technically still fits. All like that, and it's actually lower. So it's a very small change, but it's a modification that I made that was important, and I'm mostly leaving here as a note to myself, but if people care to replicate this tank, then it's an important detail also. Secondarily, and the only other change that I made to the Sherman was with this. So this was the old sort of mud cutter blade that was on the front of this thing, the very, very front. But I found as I reassembled it the second time that it didn't fit as well as I liked it to. So I changed the front here, and I'm going to try to show some different angles so that at least I can go back and make sure I get it correct. I changed the detail and the colors a little bit, but I filled in this gap instead with sort of an asymmetric like wedge piece. I kept this little bar here on the front because I wasn't sure if I would need it again in the future, but ultimately that was where this piece used to click on. So I changed that. It's a lot simpler. It's a lot better, and I'll show how it looks like kind of from the inside as well. But it didn't end up working again with this thing, so I didn't want to leave it in if it was that inconsistent. Here's the removed front of the Sherman. Just one more quick look, mostly for myself, to make sure that I can get this correct if I have to rebuild it. But I changed some of these pieces to dark gray, namely this one on the inside here, so that it would sort of have more of a riveted steel thing, and then these ledge pieces were the only thing filling in. It's actually a simpler answer to the mud cutter I had before, and I'm fairly happy with that because I like to keep it concise, but still getting the right vehicle sort of shape down. And the Sherman has such a complicated shape anyway that it's kind of a tricky thing to do, but I think I found a decent way of doing it, and it looks fairly nice. So that's the only other changes I made to these. I do have a quick note that I did want to go about on my Whippet Tank though also, which I have here as well. So as many of my viewers already know, this is my my British Whippet Tank, which was one of my newer builds. But I had a little bit of commentary on it I wanted to share, and whether or not people care to hear it, that's fine too. It doesn't bother me whether or not people actually want to hear what I have to say on this. But I essentially was looking around at other things. I look at other Lego builds and other things that I can find to sort of be inspired and try to learn from. But I'm really big on not copying what other people do. That's just me. I don't prefer to copy stuff. I feel like I can come up with decent original designs in my mind. But it's funny, I actually went back and looked at the Whippet Tank that Brickmania made, and they're a really, really interesting company that makes custom Lego kits out of custom pieces and Lego pieces, and they sell them as sort of their own sets. But I went back and looked at the Whippet that Brickmania made, which was one of the only other Whippets I could find that was made out of Lego, and I realized after the fact, after I had finished building this, that they used a lot of techniques that were very, very similar to what I used building mine, which I thought was really strange. I wanted to make a quick clarification to say that my intention was not to copy what they made. Obviously, we were both building the same vehicle, but I realized even sort of these slants on the front, sort of the measurement of this eye hole and a shape that they captured on the outside, and like these side pinning bars with this clip right here is very, very similar to the one that they made. So I did not actually copy their build. Maybe somebody had looked at this and thought that I did. That was not the intention, but it doesn't really matter because whether or not I did is not really relevant. But I just wanted to say for the record, that wasn't my goal. I was just laughing looking back the other day and being like, oh, that's funny. They used very, very similar techniques that we kind of landed on the same thoughts because I guess Lego builders just think alike and we only have so many pieces to work with anyway. But the point that I did actually want to make on the Whippet Tank was that this was the other gun variation that I had mentioned before in one of the other videos, but never featured. I figured it would be fun to feature just to show, depending on what pieces people have available, if they have any interest in building this. But I ultimately planned to include this in one of the other videos, but I didn't. So this is just a little wand pistol piece with a Technic pin on it that I just kind of slid in sort of the trigger through that that hole there. But yeah, it makes a gun that I mentioned before, the ones that I like to have an actual like barrel. I don't know if you can get that in the focus. But yeah, sort of like a barrel on it as opposed to these. So these look a lot like the gun I was trying to recreate, but I wanted to mention this just for the record so that if people had different pieces and they still wanted to build this is a method to do. But I think people are smart enough to do that anyway. But this is also a note from myself in case I don't happen to find any more of those. So I used these, I pinned them right in like that, and I could do them 4-way. They all connect the same way and they ultimately do the same thing. I did like the sort of the posability on these, so I ended up using these, and the sort of the ball, the spheroid rotator piece on the bottom I thought was really nice, but I did ultimately use these as well. So that's just a thought for myself that I figured I would share either way. I did not copy the Brickmania Whippet Tank, but it did look a lot like it, so I thought that was funny, be fun to mention, but also be cool to mention this gun in case that's an easier variant for other people to use. And lastly, I just wanted to mention that I got some new pieces. So I'm excited about what this means for me personally in my own projects, but also what it means for the channel because it's going to be great. I bought some pieces that were kind of long overdue that I've been needing some new ones of. And I finally sort of buckled down and spent quite a bit of money on some new pieces, but it'll be good. They're going to last for a long time and it's going to be definitely worth it. So I bought a 24 pack of new gears, which are fantastic. I got some of the large gears. I got some of the medium ones, and these light gray ones are primarily the ones that I needed the most of. They're ones I had the least amount of probably. And then I got some of these tiny ones as well. So I got a large pack of those. I'm really hyped for that. These are going to be great. And they're going to do exactly what they need to do. But since I got those, I also got these as well. So the main plan was that the gears would go with the tracks as well. So I got 60 more of these wide treads too, which is really cool. These are the ones I've been featuring on my builds in the past, and they're great, but I always need some more because I'm planning to build some large things, and I don't think I have enough. But at the same time, if these little hooks or anything on the end get kind of twisted or rent from just from use, and I try to be nice to them, but every once in a while something happens, then I always need extra because I have plenty of vehicles that have these. So I got 60 more of those, but also the thing that I think that I'm most excited about is these. So I got some of these some new black ones that are the single block wide ones, which is really cool because I've never had these in a very large quantity. I've had a few small ones from older Lego bins that were brown. Whoops, from so a Star Wars set, I think, and I've used them as like machine gun chain bullets, as maybe people have seen in my World War I machine gun build. But this is cool because now that I have a larger quantity of black ones, I can now do some more tanks of different sizes. So I've kind of been straying away from doing light tanks because I don't think I had the right pieces. But now that I have these that are not nearly as wide as the other ones, I think it'll actually be really good. So I'm excited for that. It's going to be really cool. I'm going to do some more builds in the future for sure, and these are definitely going to come in handy in that regard. So I just want to take a minute to show that and show that it means cool new projects for the channel, which I'm really excited about. In that regard, also I'm also taking suggestions. So no promises that I'll be able to get around to building anything that people say, but at the same time, if people have suggestions of what they might want to see, then that's cool too. I would like to be able to interact to some degree with my community and hear what they what they want to see. So these are just some of my new pieces I want to show off, and just kind of make a point that it means some new projects for the channel that I'm really excited about. So that's all for this video. Thanks for watching and checking out what I'm working on. This is just a little update video, and it's not much of one at that, but it's cool. It'll mean some interesting things for the channel, and I've got some new stuff coming soon. So thanks for coming along and checking it out.